Hello Internets, this is BoneCarlos coming to you live from Daybreak to bring you another StarCraft 2 commentary. Today, it's going to be a PvP and the players are going to be Teedee, spawning as the red version of the Protoss pieces, and his opponent is going to be eGDossenfet, and I do not believe he is part of Team Evil Geniuses, but EG always looks cool, and he is spawning as the blue version of the Protoss. Now, like I said, this is Daybreak and an interesting map. I have my ups and I have my downs. It's very easy to secure your natural expansion with a wide ramp, but the destructible rocks are there to kind of impede progress in the early stages of the game. Your third, fairly easy to take as well, but there is a very large ramp here without any destructible debris or rocks there to slow down your attacks, and then another angle of attack right here near the rear of your base. So it is very easy to secure your natural, very easy to secure your third, but since this is a PvP, usually expansions aren't taken that often. I know personally I've been trying to work on a build that actually lets me take a natural expansion while being slightly defensive against early robotics pressure, drops, and then blink stalkers. And it's slow and go. I sometimes feel like I'm hitting a break and then I just hit the snag and it drags me right back down. Now back to this play. These both players I believe are high diamond / low master level player. I do believe Teedee is the master level player while eGDossenfet is the diamond, and as you can see by the production tab, both of their build orders are pretty spot on. It looks like Teedee went for the earlier assimilator, slightly earlier assimilator, and that's why they are behind on the probe. But they both get completed, both of these simulators get completed at the same time, and already at Divergence, eGDossenfet is going for a second simulator very quickly, so more than likely going to see either a high sentry or blink stalker play, or maybe even fast robotech play, while Teedee is just going for a single assimilator, already has the second pylon down, and both players have their cybernetics core up and running, but it looks like Teedee is just that much quicker on it. One sec, say when, okay, go, 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 go. Looks like there was a little bit of a pause in the action. So Teedee is going to scout around eGDossenfet's base, spots that double assimilator, spots that cybernetic core, already sees that a zealot is being built, and appropriate response by Teedee by building their own zealot of the zealot of their own. Looks like warp gate research is being researched by Teedee, but not yet by eGDossenfet. So well, there it is. It gets started, but just a couple of seconds later than Teedee, and already eGDossenfet is supply block. Looks like he was chronoing out those probes a lot more harder than Teedee, and Teedee looks like is going to go for a straight 4-gate, pulling off 3 probes, and then deciding to pull them right back on. Looks like he's saving up all of that chrono boost on that cybernetic core to pull out that warp gate that much faster, and already has the 4th warp gate up and running. So let's see if has Teedee spotted this just yet. Nope, hasn't even decided to scout. He's just taking his Zelnaga tower to make sure there's no little probe hanging out here or there. I actually only took that Zelnaga tower with that zealot, so make sure there's no proxy pylon just yet, and Twilight cancel and a second gateway is already being built, so we're more than likely going to see quick blink play, but already the time is closing quickly. The probe is already pushing across the map to put down that proxy pylon, and warp gate looks like it is about done. It's going to finish at about the 5:45 mark, and this little probe is already a little bit late with that proxy pylon. It's going to put it down, but it's going to be a little bit too late for those first couple of warp-ins. That stalker is going to push forward, going to poke around, going to see, maybe try to scatter around. Doesn't see anything just yet. Sees that single zealot, and then eGDossenfet gets that little worried look since there isn't any other units in the base of Teedee. Spots those 3 to 4 warp gates and decides to head back home. He already has a single sentry there for to block that ramp, and in about 20 seconds he's gonna have enough for 2 gateways, and it looks like warp gate looks like blink is already being researched. Warp gate is done, so it looks like eGDossenfet is going to be very, very comfortably ahead at the moment, since Teedee just has a straight 4-gate push, while this sentry is going to be able to hold off any sort of aggression by Teedee for a very long time. Looks like that forward probe does get taken out. This pylon doesn't even get cancelled. That's 100 minutes lost for Teedee, and Teedee doesn't know what to do at this point. eGDossenfet is taking a great position, making sure to get a couple of free shots on those stalkers, and actually spotting for the sentries up here on the high ground very, very effectively. And we actually see the robotics facility. Yep, a robotics facility already on the way. That stalker gets taken care of very quickly. It looks like one sentry is down and puts down another force field, and that second zealot is down as well. And wow, the sentry with the highest energy was taken out, so that's unfortunate for Teedee. But Blink is almost done, and oh, looks like one stalker does get past the force field. Teedee tries to save it, but it is taken down very, very quickly. And again, another sentry gets put down, gets warp in just for that extra force field. But it looks like Teedee just pushes past everything. That force field is way too late. Blink is already done, so EGDossenfet does manage to save a couple of stalkers, but the zealots do take out the sentries very easily, and it looks like a couple of more. One stalker does get through. The force field is down, and it looks like Teedee is going to be able to push into eGDossenfet's base. Nothing else is being built. There is still a total, it looks like there is a total of 7 or 8 stalkers. Blink is going to help majorly. It looks like probes are being pulled out to try to save this stalker count, but that is just too many stalkers for Teedee, not enough for eGDossenfet. But Blink, he actually could use Blink to be able to save a couple of these stalkers, but still, Teedee is being very smart, not pushing too far into eGDossenfet's base, doesn't want to get surrounded by those probes, doesn't want to get picked off by those Blink stalkers, and is just taking his shots wherever he can. He is trying to focus down that cybernetics core to take away that stalker production. A nice blink back by eGDossenfet, but he does lose a stalker in the process, and look at Teedee is just going to go ahead and sit tight on the ramp and wait for reinforcements. And it looks like he's going to start chipping away at that cybernetics core yet again. eGDossenfet is going to go ahead and try to get behind Teedee, and the cybernetics core is down, so no more stalker production for eGDossenfet. A couple of stalkers do get taken down, and the blink is put into effect by eGDossenfet. All the blink is used up, so he does a little bit of a misstep, causes him to lose 2 unnecessary stalkers, and now Teedee is just having the time of his life picking away at these pylons, making sure to do whatever damage he can. As of right now, it looks like 2 more pylons are left for Teedee. He is working his way on one, manages to take down another, and eGDossenfet is completely supply blocked. He does bring down a couple of probes, but the power of the 4-gate is a little bit too strong. Teedee doesn't want to get surrounded just yet, so he looks like he's going to spread around his stalkers to try to do as much economic damage as possible. But by taking down these probes, the probes are down, and taking a look at the units lost tab, it is easy to see who the victor is, and eGDossenfet manages to pull out an immortal during the entire exchange. Not sure exactly how well that's going to be doing. He's going to need impeccable micro, and all of the warp gates are unpowered now, and it looks like it's going to be a straight up fight between Blink Stalkers and an Immortal. These zealots are going to be the moneymakers for Teedee, but the Blink does manage to save two of the Stalkers, and it looks like it's going to be a straight push forward by the Immortals and the Blink Stalkers, and these 4 Stalkers from Teedee have no chance up against the blinkage of eGDossenfet, and that single Immortal already having 6 kills to its name. But the real damage done was the workers killed by Teedee. Just look at those numbers. 18 workers killed, 37 units killed, only 2 workers killed by eGDossenfet. So that is the damage. And taking a look at the income tab, we see 21 harvesters for Teedee and only 11 for eGDossenfet. And now it's a little bit of a precarious situation. Teedee did do the obvious damage that he wanted to do. I would actually like to start just cornering out these probes. He already has the harvester advantage. I would actually like to see him. I would actually like to have seen him taking a second base throughout the entire exchange. As soon as he saw that he took down these 3 pylons, take that natural expansion. That way you're up in the lead that much more. Now, instead of being in the complete lead, you're just in a marginal lead. So he has already put down on a robotics facility, just in a straight response to the fact that eGDossenfet already has his up and running. An observer is going to go ahead and cross the map to see exactly what's in Teedee's base. But like I was saying, if you manage to cancel, not even warp in, just save himself 1 warp in of units. As soon as he saw these pylons go down, as soon as he saw that Immortal on the field, stop warping in units, get that expansion, and then start churning out of those probes as soon as possible, just as fast as possible. He would have been in a definite advantage. Right now, eGDossenfet is just in a precarious situation. He's still trying to churn out those probes. I mean, both players are trying to churn out those probes, and they're both pretty much in an even situation right now. No forges for either player, so no upgrades for the time being. And actually, eGDossenfet still doesn't even have. He actually managed to rebuild the cybernetics core, so he will be able to use those stalkers and that blink to be able to blink up here, do some damage, and then maybe blink back down, especially since he already has an observer on the field of play. And it looks like that's exactly what he's gearing up to do. He's pulling the observer right here to the edge of the map. He's going to be able to blink up with these stalkers, but I think Teedee already has spotted this observer, the little cloaking field that cloaked units do give off, and actually he spotted it with his own, an observer of his own. So Teedee's going to be well aware of the blinkage play that eGDossenfet is trying to do. Both players are just still kind of trying to gain ground. Looks like eGDossenfet spots where the army of Teedee is, but doesn't know exactly what to do just yet. Right now he's just buying himself the time. Already a mortal is being produced by Teedee, and a great, I guess, a guardian shield does go up, and the observer by eGDossenfet does go down. So good play by Teedee, sniping off at that observer. Now he knows that he could follow eGDossenfet's army around the map without fear of it being taken down, since most of eGDossenfet's army is still back at base, and the harvester count is still definitely in the lead for Teedee. Still has +7 harvesters for himself, and it looks like Teedee is just pushing out, and he's going to get himself ready to take his natural expansion. Maybe put down a pylon here, since he is supply blocked, or he will be supply blocked in a few seconds. But no, he's actually pushing forward with his probe to do a little bit of a scouting of his own. The stalkers, though, do spot it, pick it off in one volley of blasts, and that's it for that. An observer is going to go ahead and stake its claim right here, just to make sure it scouts off and spots the army of eGDossenfet. But the supply lead is very evident. The economic damage done in the earlier attack is very apparent, especially at this state of the game. But still, neither player even trying to gear up to take an expansion. Looks like the guardian shield does go up, and with that immortal in the mix is going to be the big difference. eGDossenfet knows this. He's going to go ahead and blink away, pull back, and head on home. A proxy pylon is being put down by eGDossenfet, and that actually is in a nice spot. If he is able to put down another observer here, a single warp in of 4 stalkers here, we'll be able to do tons of damage, especially if the army of Teedee is out of position and away from the main base. And it looks like eGDossenfet sees this, seems to know exactly where Teedee's army is. He's going to push forward near the extreme edges of the base. He's going to go ahead and blink up as soon as his observer catches up, and it looks like Teedee knows he is in a bad spot, and he's just going ahead and retreat and go on back home. And while sending out another probe of his own to do a couple of scouting, probably put down a proxy pylon of his own, eGDossenfet blinks up, going to push forward, going to start taking his whacks at those probes. Already takes down 4, 5. It looks like the damage has been done. eGDossenfet wants to go home. He blinks away half of the stalkers and blinks away the other half, and it's going to go ahead and go home. And it looks like this is a very interesting spot, since both players decide to put down both of their proxy pylons at exactly the same spot of the map. Of course, mirrored is what I am talking about. But still, looks like there is a nice supply, a nice mineral advantage by Teedee, but still no expansion just yet. And it looks like they might want to start taking their expansions very, very soon, since both mineral counts from both main bases are almost down. Blinking again by eGDossenfet, and he does blink forward into the high ground. eGDossenfet is gonna, looks like he has both of his stalkers grouped together. He's gonna start pushing, prodding and pounding away at the cybernetic score. A warp in from a zealot, a free kill. Why not take that free kill? And it looks like eGDossenfet knows this, knows that the army of Teedee is up on the high ground again. He's gonna go ahead and just stutter step away, trying to micro and save as much units as possible. Looks like he didn't even lose a single stalker in that exchange, except for the one that was misclicked and grouped together with his army up here. The observer from Teedee is sniped. It is spotted, and it looks like eGDossenfet is gonna push forward, and then is gonna see the army blinks up to the high ground with the power of the blink, with the power of the observer. Teedee is just gonna go ahead and take his free kills where he can. The cybernetic score for Teedee does go down, and again, the stalkers aren't in a great position to do enough damage economically to pretty much pull him back in this game. eGDossenfet sees the army of Teedee is arriving on the scene and says, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and go on home. And again, losing a few stalkers in the process, he finally catches them. He's going to try to save as many as he can, but one volley takes down the 101, and another volley takes down the second. And again, looks like there is no more minerals to mine for Teedee, and the same is going to be said for eGDossenfet very, very soon. And there's going to go ahead and be long-range mining by both players. If I were eGDossenfet and I spotted this, it looks like he did take his expansion, finally did take his expansion, and he's going to go ahead and hang out for just a second, push forward with his observer, scout, and see where the army is of Teedee, and say, you know, I'm in a good spot. I know exactly where his army is. I'm going to take my free shots with my blink, and that is it. I wonder if he knows I wonder if Teedee knows that he is long-range mining. Nope. As far as you know, he still does have a couple of mineral patches on the field of play. But if he knew he was long-range mining, I would just plant my stalkers here and get a couple of probe kills while I was at it. But he doesn't know it. Just he's going to poke forward again with his blink stalker force. Going to see where the army is. A force field does go down to make it look pretty and shiny on the map. Finally spots all of those probes. eGDossenfet knows that this is actually a nice position for him. Most of the army of Teedee is up on the high ground. The ramp does provide a natural choke, but eGDossenfet doesn't want to engage just yet. He's going to push forward, blink, take out a couple of stalkers. Another nice, beautiful force field there that just looks pretty. And eGDossenfet is going to go home, head home, since his expansion is done. His natural expansion is done. Still great blink micro by eGDossenfet, just trying to minimize losses as much as possible. Looks like Teedee has had enough of this. He's going to go ahead and try to push forward with his Stalker Sentry Zealot Force with a couple of Immortals mixed in, and eGDossenfet is just actually playing possum with him, trying to keep Teedee's army busy while he just gears up and takes his natural expansion. And I would like to see him just head home and make these probes start mining from here, while all this cheeky shenanigans is going down. Teedee finally does get enough minerals to start building his own natural expansion. But seeing as how eGDossenfet's expansion is already up and running, eGDossenfet does now have the advantage. In the harvester count, he does have the greater harvester count now that the damage was done on those long distance mining, and eGDossenfet gets caught in an interesting little position. A couple of stalkers do go down in those full fields. Again, actually blocked a blinked stalker and helped it to get killed. And Teedee's going to push forward, see that the main army is just hanging around. Still, eGDossenfet does not want to engage. Teedee finally realizes what's going down, and it looks like it's going to be a straight base race since Teedee is at the natural expansion of eGDossenfet. Finally, Teedee goes forward, sees the Nexus. He's going to take it down in a couple of volleys. These Immortals doing tons of damage up against the armored structure that is the Nexus. Brings it down very, very quickly. Teedee sees this and is going to go ahead and start attacking ad nauseum. Looks like it's going to go down to a straight base race, but those sentries on the field of play are going to go ahead and block the army of Teedee. And unfortunately for him, he does not have a massive unit that can break this. An Archon or a Colossus would have been great. The Teedee does push forward finally, but this is enough sentries with enough energy to hold off for quite a while. The Mortal there is going to go ahead and get pummeled away. It might be taken down, and it manages to survive. Nope, it's taken down. Again, a nice force field by eGDossenfet, but doesn't manage to block off the entire ramp. He finally does push forward, blocks the entire thing off, but the Immortal is down, and now there is only sentries in the field of play for eGDossenfet. The force field does go down. Another force field is put up, but this 2 Zealots versus 2 sentries, the Zealots are going to win every single time. But in the meantime, eGDossenfet was taking care of Teedee's base. Teedee is being revealed, and he's pushing all of his probes around the field to just to put down pylons, just to give himself time to be able to take down all of eGDossenfet's base. So right now it is a straight base race between both players. It looks like this pylon is going to be the linchpin between this entire thing. Teedee probably knows this, doesn't leave behind any units to take care of the remaining structures of his opponent, and he's just going to go ahead and make his final stand near this pylon. And right now in the units station, we see only 20 stalkers for Teedee, and this looks like one more pylon. This pylon does get taken down, but there is another, a similar being built, and Teedee retreats back to the power of the assimilator. There's only 20 stalkers on the field of play. They do have blink, but these 2 Immortals are going to be the linchpin for Teedee's army. He doesn't have any blink for his own stalkers, but he does have looks like a couple of 4 Zealots on the field of play. So 4 Zealots, 2 Immortals, 8 stalkers. 1 stalker does go down and blink back by eGDossenfet. Manages to save most of his stalker army, and he hasn't lost a single unit just yet. He's going to push forward, going to try to focus these. I'm going to go ahead and assume that was a misclick. Takes care of one of his own stalkers for Teedee, and eGDossenfet pushes forward. He's going to try to pick off anything he can. He's going to push forward and blink back just to bait the army of Teedee. If I were Teedee, I would just put down his stalkers in the back, just put them on hold position. Put your zealots in the front, with your immortals, with your probes. Put your stalkers in the back and just put them on hold position. Make eGDossenfet come to you. Because you're just going to be bled dry if you continue this course of action. Would I actually like to see him take yeah, keep his stalkers and immortals here. Just split his army in half, start attacking this high ground, force eGDossenfet's army to split. And this observer is actually paying its weight in gold. He does spot exactly where eGDossenfet's army is, but right now this is just going to go ahead and back and forth for quite a while until both players decide to just go for it. Good job by Teedee trying to use his immortal as bait. But eGDossenfet was not fooled entirely and managed to blink away in time. And again, the tug of war does continue. A single zealot does go down, a second zealot goes down, and now it's just going to be 12 stalkers versus 7 stalkers and an immortal. In a straight up fight, I would give it to the immortal army, but with blink, it does change the very nature of it. He could use his stalkers just like he did, hold them there for a second, pick off a single stalker, and then blink back without taking too much damage of his own. And this is just going to keep on happening, A blink forward does manage to surround the entire army of eGDossenfet. It micros down, focuses down that immortal, and now it is game over. eGDossenfet wins. Teedee leaves the game, and that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, leave a comment down below on what I could do to make these more enjoyable for you. Also, if you have a personal replay you'd like for me to cast of one of your own games, upload it to one of the major sites. Upload it to one of the major replay sites and leave a link in the comment section down below. Other than that, I'm going to get on out of here.